Well, she started her career writing songs about faith and had an amazing mark on the world doing that.
Country music legend Vince Gill has kept fans guessing for years about his personal life, especially when it comes to his marriage. Known for his soulful voice, heartfelt lyrics, and gentle demeanor, Vince has always guarded his private life fiercely. But now, in a stunning revelation, he has finally opened up about the truth behind his relationship with his wife, and the story has left fans both shocked and deeply moved. For decades, Vince's marriage had been the subject of speculation. Fans and media outlets alike wondered what kept the couple together through the highs and lows of fame, the grueling demands of tours, and the pressures of the spotlight. While Vince was always charming in interviews, he carefully avoided revealing intimate details, choosing instead to focus on his music and philanthropy. Now, however, he has chosen honesty over secrecy. In a recent interview, Vince spoke candidly about the challenges and triumphs that have defined his marriage. He shared moments of vulnerability that fans had never seen before, the struggles with balancing public life and personal commitment, the quiet sacrifices made behind the scenes, and the unspoken tensions that sometimes threaten to unravel their relationship. Yet amid these challenges, he also highlighted the deep love, mutual respect, and unwavering support that have sustained their bond through decades. Fans were quick to respond online, expressing admiration and empathy. Many shared their own stories of love tested by time, resonating with Vince's honesty and humility. For some, the confession was shocking. For others, it was a long-awaited glimpse into the man behind the music. Vince's revelation reminded everyone that even the most iconic stars face real-life struggles, and that honesty and vulnerability can strengthen love rather than diminish it. The question now captivating. Country music fans, what exactly has Vince Gill endured in his marriage? And how has his wife's presence shaped the man behind the legendary Vince Gill sat quietly in the corner of the studio? Guitar resting against his knee, fingers tracing the familiar frets without strumming. The soft hum of the lights above and the faint murmur of the crew were almost soothing. But his mind was elsewhere, on the story he had avoided telling for decades. For years, fans had speculated about his marriage. The woman who had stood beside him through the whirlwind of fame, the relentless tours, and the pressures of being a country music icon. Vince had always smiled politely, deflected questions, and shifted conversations back to music. But today was different. Today, he would finally speak the truth. He took a deep breath and began slowly, his voice calm but heavy with emotion. "People see the songs, the awards, the performances," he said. "But they don't see what it takes to keep a marriage alive when your life is constantly on the road. When every moment seems scheduled, planned, or publicized." He paused, his gaze dropping to the floor as memories swirled in his mind, the late nights in hotel rooms, the missed anniversaries, the small fights that escalated over exhaustion and stress. Behind the curtain of fame, he had wrestled with guilt and doubt, wondering if he could ever balance love and career. Vince spoke of the early days, when he met his wife, how their connection had been instant and electric, filled with laughter, shared dreams, and mutual admiration. She had been his anchor, the steady presence in a life that often felt like a storm at sea. "She believed in me when no one else did," Vince admitted, voice cracking slightly. "Even when I doubted myself, even when the world seemed overwhelming. She reminded me who I was and why I started in the first place." His hands gripped the guitar, a nervous habit, as he recounted the sacrifices they both made to nurture their relationship while juggling the demands of fame. But Vince didn't shy away from the struggles. He recalled nights spent apart on tours, misunderstandings fueled by distance, and the quiet arguments that followed. There were moments when he questioned whether the love they had could withstand the pressures, whether they could survive the constant pull of careers and public expectations. He spoke honestly about the pain, the regrets, and the times when he feared the relationship might unravel. Each confession carried the weight of years spent protecting his private life from scrutiny. Yet through it all, Vince emphasized the unwavering devotion that had kept them together. The small gestures, the unspoken support, the laughter shared in private moments, these were the threads that wove a strong foundation, one that could endure even the toughest storms. He shared stories of quiet mornings over coffee, late-night conversations filled with honesty, And the moments when simply holding hands reminded them why they had chosen each other. By the end of the interview, Vince's vulnerability was undeniable. The man who had captivated audiences with his voice, who had penned countless songs about love and loss, had revealed the real story behind his life offstage. It wasn't always perfect, and it hadn't always been easy, but it had been real, honest, and worth every sacrifice. As he set down the guitar and leaned back in his chair, Vince felt a sense of release he hadn't known in years. The world had finally heard the truth about his marriage, not just the polished image, but the love, the struggle, and the resilience that had defined it. And for Vince Gill, speaking honestly about his wife, about their life together, was more than a confession. It was a tribute to the woman who had always been his greatest inspiration. The morning after Vince Gill's heartfelt confession, the world responded with an outpouring of emotion. Fans flooded social media with messages of admiration and empathy, many expressing gratitude for his honesty. They had known Vince as a talented musician, a beloved performer, and a humble country legend, but few had glimpsed the man behind the music. The husband who had fought tirelessly to maintain a marriage under the relentless glare of fame. Each comment reminded him that the story he had shared mattered, that his vulnerability could inspire others to embrace honesty in their own lives. Vince spent the day reflecting on the journey he and his wife had shared. From the early days of dating, when they would talk for hours about dreams and ambitions, to the struggles of balancing long tours with home life, each memory held a mixture of joy and challenge. He remembered nights alone in hotel rooms, staring at the ceiling, wishing he could be there for her in the ways she deserved. And he remembered her unwavering support, even when he failed to express gratitude or seemed distant. Those moments of patience and understanding had been the glue holding their relationship together. Yet the path had not been without conflict. Vince recalled arguments sparked by exhaustion, miscommunication, or the pressures of his career. There were times when jealousy, frustration, or fear had crept in, threatening to unravel the bond they had built. It wasn't always easy, Vince admitted quietly. We both had to learn, sometimes the hard way, how to navigate love under these circumstances. He spoke of the quiet apologies, the forgiveness offered in the dead of night, and the compromises that demanded humility and courage from both of them. Amid the struggles, there were triumphs that kept their marriage resilient. Vince described small victories, sharing a quiet morning before a show, laughing over inside jokes, celebrating milestones privately away from the spotlight. Each moment, though seemingly ordinary, was monumental in reinforcing their love and commitment. He remembered surprising her with trips, small gifts, or handwritten notes, gestures meant to remind her that she was never overlooked or unappreciated. Family and friends played an essential role too. Vince spoke about the support network that quietly bolstered their relationship: mentors, fellow musicians, and loved ones who offered guidance and understanding when challenges seemed insurmountable. Without them, he acknowledged, some of the darker moments might have become unbearable. Their presence was a reminder that love existed not in isolation, but as part of a larger, supportive community. By evening, Vince sat alone with his guitar, strumming softly and reflecting on the fragility and strength of love. He realized that the trials they had endured hadn't weakened their bond, they had strengthened it, deepened it, and made it unshakable. Sharing these truths publicly was not easy, but he hoped it would inspire others to value honesty, to communicate openly, and to recognize that vulnerability is not weakness, but a testament to genuine connection. Vince's confession marked a turning point. The public had glimpsed a side of him rarely revealed, a man deeply devoted to the woman who had stood by him through every challenge. And as he set down his guitar and looked at a photo of them together, he felt a renewed sense of gratitude and love. The journey had been difficult, yes, but it had also been worth every trial, every tear, and every heartfelt word. Vince Gill leaned back in his chair, the weight of decades pressing lightly on his shoulders. He knew the interview had stirred emotions not only in fans but within himself. Speaking about his marriage had dredged up memories of moments he had buried, moments of doubt, fear, and near despair. There had been times when he feared the pressures of his career would shatter the life he had built with his wife. Times when distance and exhaustion created cracks that seemed too wide to bridge. Yet he had endured, and his reflections now revealed how love could survive even the most trying circumstances. One of the most difficult periods, Vince admitted, came during a particularly grueling tour. Weeks on the road meant missed birthdays, anniversaries, and quiet evenings that were essential to maintaining intimacy. Calls were rushed, video chats fraught with technical glitches, and letters often went unread for days. The physical separation strained their connection, leaving both of them vulnerable to loneliness and miscommunication. "There were nights I wondered if the distance was too much," he confessed, his voice low, almost trembling. "I questioned whether I could be the husband she deserved while living this life." Yet it was in these moments of vulnerability that their relationship was tested and ultimately strengthened. Vince remembered one night vividly. After a particularly exhausting performance, he called his wife, expecting a cold or frustrated response. Instead, she listened patiently, offering understanding and encouragement, reminding him of the foundation they had built together. It was a simple act, but it had reinforced a crucial truth. Love wasn't about perfection. It was about persistence, communication, and empathy. Vince also spoke of times when personal and professional stress collided unexpectedly. Financial challenges, health scares, and family crises created storms that could have overwhelmed them. Yet, he credited his wife's unwavering support for helping him navigate these turbulent waters. She had been his sounding board, his confidant, and the quiet force keeping him grounded when everything else felt unstable. Vince's eyes softened as he recounted the countless moments she had sacrificed her own comfort for his well-being, proving that love required effort, patience, and selflessness. Even the small victories mattered. Shared dinners between tours, whispered words in hotel rooms, spontaneous gestures of affection, these moments became sacred rituals that reminded them of why they had chosen each other. Vince admitted that he had once underestimated the power of these acts, but experience had taught him that consistency in care and attention could outweigh grand declarations. The little things kept the marriage alive when fame, exhaustion, and external pressures threatened to pull them apart. By the end of the day, Vince reflected on the journey they had taken together. Their marriage had been tested repeatedly, yet each challenge had reinforced their bond. Vulnerability, he realized, had been the secret ingredient, not hiding from struggle, but facing it openly and honestly with the one person who mattered most. Vince's confession, raw and unfiltered, reminded fans and fellow musicians alike that even lives that appear perfect on the surface are full of unseen trials. His courage in sharing these intimate details was not for sympathy. It was a tribute to the resilience, love, and partnership that had defined his life with his wife. Through struggle and triumph alike, they had endured, proving that love, when nurtured with patience and honesty, could withstand even the harshest storms. In the days following Vince Gill's candid revelations, the reactions were overwhelming. Fans poured out messages of support across social media, and even fellow musicians reached out privately to commend his honesty. Vince watched the responses with a mixture of humility and relief. For years, he had guarded his private life fiercely, fearing judgment or misunderstanding. Yet now, seeing the public embrace not just his music but his truth, he felt a profound sense of validation. His story wasn't just about him, it was a testament to the resilience of love and the power of honesty. At home, Vince found himself reflecting on the quiet, ordinary moments that had shaped his marriage. Mornings spent sharing coffee and conversation, late-night drives where they would talk about dreams and fears, and small gestures of kindness. These memories, once taken for granted, now seemed monumental. He realized that the beauty of a relationship often lay in the mundane, in the consistency of care rather than the grandiose gestures. These were the threads that had woven a life strong enough to withstand the pressures of fame, touring, and public scrutiny. Yet the public attention also brought unexpected challenges. Media outlets speculated endlessly about the truth behind his marriage, some twisting his words, others probing for scandal. Vince felt the familiar pang of intrusion, the tension of seeing his private life dissected by strangers. But he leaned on the support of his wife, whose calm reassurance reminded him that their bond was unshakable. "Let them talk," she said quietly, her hand resting over his. "We know our story. That's what matters." Her words grounded him, a reminder that no headline could define their love. At the studio, colleagues and friends noticed a shift in Vince. He moved with a quiet confidence, no longer burdened by unspoken truths. His music felt more heartfelt, his performances infused with renewed emotion. He realized that sharing his vulnerabilities had not weakened him. It had allowed him to live more authentically. Conversations with his wife became deeper, more open, each discussion a reaffirmation of trust and understanding. He discovered that honesty had a ripple effect, strengthening connections, fostering empathy, and cultivating intimacy that fame had never been able to replicate. Even the challenges they faced now seemed manageable. Scheduling conflicts, the pressures of touring, and the occasional tension of daily life were no longer threats to their bond. They were opportunities to practice patience and reaffirm commitment. Vince felt a renewed sense of gratitude, recognizing the sacrifices, understanding, and unwavering support that had sustained their relationship for decades. As evening fell, Vince and his wife sat together on their porch, the soft glow of the setting sun casting a warm light over them. They spoke quietly, laughing over shared memories and planning small adventures for the months ahead. In that moment, Vince understood the true essence of love. Not perfection, not the absence of struggle, but a willingness to face life's challenges together with honesty, patience, and unwavering devotion. Vince Gill's confession had revealed more than the details of his marriage. It had revealed the courage to be vulnerable, the strength in honesty, and the enduring power of partnership. For him, the journey was ongoing, a life filled with music, love, and the knowledge that the woman beside him was not just his wife but the anchor, the inspiration and the heart of everything he had built. And in that quiet golden evening, he felt at peace, knowing their story was one of resilience, authenticity, and true love.